This afternoon, we're going to be looking at issues around new kinds of media platforms, particularly video, and particularly one brand, which we're going to start with in just a moment, that describes itself as a new kind of media business for a new generation. And if you spend any time on LinkedIn, and I'm kind of imagining everyone does. Who's on LinkedIn? Yeah, there we go. And if you're on Twitter or Facebook and you're in business, you will have seen output from our next speaker. You will certainly have had something forwarded to you, and you'll probably have found it pretty good. So let's hear how it's done from the Executive Vice President of Cheddar. Please welcome Melissa Rosenthal. Who is still being mic'd up, so save that applause. It was almost good, but frankly a bit lackluster. So fortunately, you are going to get a second chance. And as soon as Melissa has been plugged in to our all-encompassing digital microphone technology, we're going to welcome her again. So this time, can we try a bit harder, please? I'm looking Oscar-type rapturous applause. Not this kind of, just back from lunch, it's sort of all right, but not really what I'm doing. I want big. Okay. So Cabus will give me a signal when Melissa is completely ready. Nearly there, I think. Which means that I have time to remind you once again that if you haven't got hold of your FIP Digital Innovators Handbook, there's still time. Juan Senor, of course, gave us a great presentation earlier. You can buy it at a discounted rate just for today. And two more quick reminders. Don't stop tweeting. DI Summit is the hashtag on Twitter. And finally, just a reminder that if you are in here, and it's the right place to be, but you wish you could also be in there, and we don't yet have the 3D printing technology that allows us to clone ourselves and be in two places at once, the whole thing is being video streamed. Sorry, not streamed. It's being videoed and will be available from tomorrow. So you can go back to your places of work and show your colleagues all the sessions you weren't at, and they can then criticize you for using your time here badly, but you will have the satisfaction of having been in the place that you really wanted to be. Are we okay? Is that a thumbs up? Are we all set? I'm really delighted to hear that. Well, you can't say you haven't had time to practice, so I'm not looking for anything less than massive. Please welcome the Executive Vice President of Cheddar, Melissa Rosenthal.
Hello. So happy to be here. I'm Melissa Rosenthal. I'm the Executive Vice President of a new live media company called Cheddar, and also the first post-cable network. Prior to Cheddar, I was the head of global creative at a company called BuzzFeed. What I'm going to be discussing today are the two shifts that we've seen in the industry that has led us to create Cheddar. The first being distribution. Distribution is changing at a faster rate than we ever saw possible. People are watching content in different ways, they're consuming it on different platforms, and it has really led us to make a change in how we distribute our content. And the second piece is the content itself. People want to consume different types of content than they have previously. Audiences are getting older. Younger people want to consume content that they haven't consumed before. How do you program for that? How do you plan for that? And how do you create for that? Both of these shifts in content and distribution has led us to what we call the end and the beginning of television. We're living in what we call a post-cable era. By any measure, it's a cataclysm. 22 million people cut the cord last year in the US. These were paying TV subscribers, paying $160 a month for cable, and they're no longer doing that. This year, the amount of people that have broadband speed internet will eclipse the amount of people paying for television subscriptions. That's really big. People that have the access now to make choices that they weren't able to make before. Speeds are faster than ever, choices are more plentiful than ever, and there's no need to really have that one option that you've had for the past 10 years. Especially when you look at the subset of millennials. 48% decline in the amount of TV and traditional cable that they're consuming this year compared to previous years. That's really, really interesting for us, especially because we focus on the millennial consumer. Ages 25 to 34, 39% decline. This isn't changing. This is only going to get worse for consumers that are actually watching paid TV. And what are the cables company doing when they see these numbers? They're raising rates. They're making it more expensive than ever to have a cable TV. And why are they doing that? It's because they can't compete. In order to do that, they need to raise the rates, which is essentially driving lower viewership. Let's take a subset, an even bigger subset of this audience and content. The incumbent business news networks in the US, CNBC, Fox Business, look at their peak viewership. 160,000 people a day. 160,000. These are the biggest news networks, business news networks in the United States. And at any given peak time, they have 160,000 people. That's not good. That's not good for them. And the median ages, 67 to 69 years old. It's very bad. I can see heard the audible gasps in the audience. These people are in retirement homes. I mean, they're not programming for the future consumers. And why is that? Is that because young people are just not interested in financial content? Are they not interested in technology? We don't agree. Every quarter for the last few years, hundreds of thousands of American households have put the end to their cable subscriptions. Fed up with the cost of cable, channels they never watch, and annoying commercials. These are the three things that people need to solve for when creating content in the future. Cost. $160 a month on average, you get 300 channels. How many of which are people watching? Usually around 3 to 4. Channels they never watch, and annoying commercials. People are tuning out. NBC cut their primetime commercials in half. CBS followed. This is a trend. People are seeing this. No one wants to be watching these commercials. So how do you solve for all of these things? Well, the result, all of these incumbents and new wave media companies are coming up with their own OTT systems. Verizon has announced one, AT&T DirecTV Now, YouTube TV, Philo, Fubo. I could go on and on and on. There are probably around 20 or 30 now in existence. Some of them are geared towards people that don't want sports. Some of them are geared towards people that want sports. Some of them are entertainment-based bundles only. But this is happening in exponential speed compared to where we were 2 years ago when we started the company. Every single incumbent network, at the risk of cannibalizing their own business, is coming up with a new model, a new OTT system to be able to compete. And we're going to only see this get worse. So we believe that there are two possible bets in how people will consume content and the type of content they will consume. First bet, the future will be on demand. You will binge watch Netflix and Amazon and Hulu. You will go home, and that's what you will watch. And you will watch short-form content. You will watch content on your Facebook feed, on your Twitter feed, on LinkedIn, and this will be the two types of content you consume. And the question, if that's the bet, what happens to live? Does live go away? Is there no longer a need for live linear television? Some people might say yes. Some people say that's the way the trend is going. People no longer need to watch live television. We disagree. We think there is a need for news, live business content news, but it needs to be rebooted. Right now, it is being broadcast for an older demographic. No one is thinking about the younger generations who are going to be buying financial products, thinking about their futures, buying cars, thinking about the technology they're using. We live in the future, so why not program for the future? And one reason we don't believe this is true is because you didn't wake up a year ago and say, I love watching 30-second shitty videos on Facebook. This is what I want to watch. I want to watch on-demand content, and I want to watch videos in my news feed that are not programmed in the way that I want to watch them. They just come up, and that's what I'm going to be watching. No one wanted that. Facebook is dictating that for you. We believe the consumer will be able to have control in a meaningful way. And that's why we created Cheddar. So our bet is that ambient linear gets rebooted for people under 60 years old. It gets rebooted in a meaningful way to talk about the companies that they care about, the subscription services that they're using, and the way that they want to watch it. Cue Cheddar.
This is Cheddar.
Live from the New York Stock Exchange.
Coming to you live from the White House.
Here in Los Angeles. We're live at Apple's iPhone video right now.
Is this treason? I was asked directly, and I said, nothing has been proven yet.
It broke the internet overnight.
Tech is all about breaking the rules. Like you look at Cheddar, it's overturning all of the TV industry by being online only.
Go to order on the go, add to order, continue to checkout. There you have it, happiness in a box. Oh, let's go.
Thanks for joining us on our Volvo Tech Drive series.
Super excited, nice car.
So you guys are really part of this disruptive community out there like Volvo.
It's time to turn to our partners over at Cheddar. So what do you got for us right now, Jill?
Hey, good morning, Dan. Another day, another record high close for the market. Here are some top stories from Cheddar on News 12. It's a one-stop shop for the latest in tech, business, and media.
Cheddar is everywhere.
Cheddar is everywhere.
Cheddar is a live video, technology, media, business, and culture news network. We are programming for a younger generation. We are programming what they want and where they want to view it. Our view is that we live in the future. Elon Musk is landing rockets on their tails. Uber is releasing autonomous fleets of vehicles. AI, all of this new technology, things are happening in a major way. And do young people not want to understand that? How society is going to be dictating what they're using in the future? We think that's very, very, very important. So we're programming like we live in the future. We're not talking about oil and commodities. We're talking about the stocks people care about. FANG stocks, Facebook, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix. Financially, that's what we talk about from a high level. But we live in the future. We're talking about the private companies that are really transforming the landscape, the people that are building the Hyperloop. How are we going to be living in 10 to 20 years? That's what we focus on. These are today's rock stars. Everyone wants to be Elon Musk. Young people want to be Sheryl Sandberg. And that's how we program our content. We book 60 to 80 guests a day. All of those people are across young companies who we believe will be the future of our generations to come. We have the people on who are the CEOs at major corporations, who are acquiring companies, who are innovating, who are keeping their companies at the top of mind for younger consumers, the people that truly get it. We have to do that. That's the way we need to program. We touch everything. We touch entertainment, we touch technology, we touch media, we touch finance, all through the lens of technology. So how do you do this? Was this just a thought? What are the keys to programming in a post-cable era? Was it just something we stumbled upon, or was it very strategic? It's the latter. We have anchors who represent our audience. It's very important. No matter what business you're in, if you have people on where they are representing the people that you want to be watching your content. It seems very natural, but a younger demographic doesn't want to sit and watch 70-year-old men debate an issue for 5 hours. That's just not who they want representing them. So we have young, diverse cast of anchors who can touch on many different subjects that we've taken from incumbent networks where they wouldn't have gotten a chance at all to be on air. The people on air right now will die in their seats because they're making $40 million a year, they're happy, and there's no reason for them to go anywhere else. So there's a wealth of talent out there, a younger pool that we can pick from, where we can say, you're the person that we want representing who we want watching our content. And that's how we pick our talent. Our real estate. Real estate is so important when you're building a visual medium. People aren't tuning in to us to watch a green screen. We want to be a window on the world. When you watch Cheddar, you see exactly what's happening in that moment where it's happening. Our real estate, we are the corner of the Flatiron Building in New York, the iconic Flatiron Building. We are the triangle. It looks out over what you call Silicon Alley, which is where Facebook and Twitter and all of the major media companies are located. That really is a window on the world. The New York Stock Exchange, on the days of the major companies that were following IPO, we're there. We're doing it in 360. We're covering those IPOs in a way that they've never been covered before, in a way that younger people can relate to them. We did a global distribution deal with WeWork, where we can set up micro studios around the country at a cloud cost. This really helps us, both because we can leverage talent at these WeWorks and because we're able to set up a studio in a month's time. We don't have to find a landlord. We're able to do this in a way that no other company can really do this. You have to be nimble, you have to be agile, you have to find spaces where smart, intelligent, talented people are working and leverage that. Everything is strategic. And we're at the White House. Political coverage is very important, and we acknowledge that. So we have someone at the ground in the White House with full access who can do briefings for us, who can touch on politics, presidential policies, and we're there every day doing live hits. Distribution, one of the most important things that I touched on in the beginning. What we saw in distribution was everything is changing. You need to be where people are watching. You can't expect that they're going to go and find you. So we are on most OTT systems. We'll be on every OTT system by the end of Q2. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. That is very much a top-of-the-funnel way that people find out about us. The more they interact with us on these social networks, the more likely they are to watch us 5 to 7 hours a month on these OTT systems. That's where we're going to win, being everywhere. We have a connected car feature. If you're on your way to work, you can listen to Cheddar as an audio stream. We have an Amazon Alexa skill. We're platform agnostic, where we are where our user is, where our end consumer is, where our viewer is. Own the big days. The big days in your industry are really what's going to get you on the map. When Snapchat IPO'd at the New York Stock Exchange, we covered it from every culturally relevant angle. We had executives on, we had users on, we had big users on, we had people that had invested in Snapchat from day one. All of these different angles of how people were using the technology, how they saw it going in the future, the people that had invested and why they invested in it, and how that pertains to other IPOs and other major companies. And this is what our audience is interested in. Be there first. Make your competitors chase you. This was the day that the Brooklyn court struck down Trump's travel ban. We were there first, to the point where MSNBC needed to rip our feed because they couldn't get there. You can beat out every incumbent, every competitor, everyone that has 5,000 more people working at their company than you. If you are faster than them, if you are more agile than them, if you're more nimble, and you have the talent that is able to be rigorous. Make them pay attention to you. Make sure you are getting the hooks, the coverage that defines your industry. That's what we've been doing. We make sure people quote us, even if it makes them cringe because we're such a new player in the space. They have to quote us. They have to source us when they are discussing an article. And that's really how you get the acknowledgement in the industry. And it takes time. They don't want to do it until they have to do it, and you make them do it. And when platforms like Facebook tell us, we want you to create a show for us, we want you to create content for us, this is what you need to do. We say, we're going to make what we want to make, and we're going to change it 10% for you. And the reason being is because many publishers fall into the trap of creating content for the platforms and not for themselves. And at the end of the day, it becomes a commodity. All of a sudden, you have 20 different publishers who have acquiesced to creating the same exact type of content that Facebook wants, and then everything starts to look the same. You lose your identity as a brand and as a publisher. The rules of broad programs. When Facebook tells you to create content for a pilot that they're running, they have incentive misalignment. Facebook's going to pay you a little bit of money to do that. They're going to monetize it. And then what's going to happen? They're going to kill it after one term. Then you've staffed a team to create this content for a platform. You've prioritized it over things like building your brand. And then they kill it. And what's left? You've relied on another company. You haven't built your own O&O. And you're not in control of your future. And it never ends well. All of these articles showcase what happens after they decide to change their flavor of the week. They no longer want to promote the tab that they created. They no longer want to promote the channels that they've created. What do you do then? Read the rest of the book. There's an episode of a Twilight Zone episode where the aliens come down to Earth. Everyone is very excited. There's a book. It says to serve man. They're here to serve us. This is exactly what happens with Facebook and Twitter and all of these technology companies and media companies that tell you to do something for them. You need to read the rest of the book.
Mr. Chambers! Mr. Chambers! Don't get on that ship! The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook!
So the aliens actually end up eating them. It's a cookbook to serve man. That's how we equate what these platforms are doing. They're telling you one thing, but at the end of the day, they might just serve you on a golden platter. This is what Facebook looks like. If you're creating substantive content, this is what it looks like in your newsfeed. You are the broccoli, you are the chicken, compared to the Twinkies and the Pop-Tarts and the Lucky Charms. When you're looking down an aisle and you see all of this junk food, and a piece of broccoli, what are you gonna pick? You're gonna pick the junk food every single time. Facebook does not categorize content. It does not put the news content with the news content. It sticks substantive content that matters next to a box of Pop-Tarts, next to a cat video. That's not how people watch. That's not how people should be programming. So we don't really want to be the broccoli in the aisle of Pop-Tarts. It doesn't make sense for our business. End caps, neighborhooding is essential. You need to be placed next to your competitors, next to the equivalents. That's where people are going to find you. That's where it's going to be meaningful. Understand your partner platforms. When you make partnerships, understand what they can offer you, understand their audience. It's so imperative. Twitter, one of our biggest partners, is an engaged finance community. People on there are interested in the content we're making, and it's streamlined and categorized in a way where people can easily find it. So what is needed? The main takeaway is that young people are interested in everything older people are rebooted. The younger talent. Reboot your talent. Think about who's actually talking about your information. Visually vibrant. It needs to be eye-catching. If you're scrolling down a screen, down a feed, what are you going to look at? You're going to look at what catches your eye. Modern delivery. You need to make sure it's fast, agile, and you're keeping up with the types of technology. Cloud cost structure. We don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year building this. We do it on an efficient structure where we can make it really cost efficient for us. We have a young business-savvy audience. We're not here to reach every single person. We found a really deep niche in who we can reach, and we program for them. They're young, they're affluent, they're educated. They care about what we're programming for. That is who we go after. And we believe that as a byproduct of that, we're going to have a trickle-down effect, and more people will end up watching us. But we're not trying to program for everyone. That doesn't work. We have C-level executives, founders, VPs, directors watching across Cheddar. Why is that? It's because of the way we program. We haven't gone out and targeted these people. It's the way we book. It's the guests that we have on. It's the interests. And if you do ads, if you want to make money, we say be David Ogilvy. Reinvent something that has already worked really well. We built Native 1.0 at BuzzFeed, Native 2.0. And what we're doing now is we're taking a model that has worked previously through the incumbents, and we're making it more meaningful for our advertisers. We work with brands who commit to us. We work with brands who view us as a partner and not a vendor. You will not build long-lasting relationships with people who views you for a month, work with you for a month, and then they tune out. Our partnerships are a year long at minimum. And we create our partnerships for them. This is a show called Your Cheddar, presented by Ally Bank. We program it for their audience, a younger demographic, a younger generation of people that will be interested in finance and investing.
Going to be a different type of show than we've done before, where we're going to focus on the intersection of you and your money.
All about the cheddar.
Oh, you were doing it too? I didn't know you were doing it too. Your budgeting, your mortgages, your personal finance.
I call it getting financially naked. It's one of my favorite topics.
If you're a saver and you're dating a spender, you're not going to change him.
Your job, your career, your salary, your credit cards, your interest rates.
Building that emergency savings account, and then aggressively paying off your consumer debt, and then rebuilding, continuing to build your savings account.
Your cheddar, your Benjamins, your guap, your bucks.
You have to stop comparing your life and your lifestyle to everyone else, because it's going to affect your paycheck and your bank account ultimately.
How do I kickstart this business? How do I jumpstart it? How do I go from, idea to manufacturing to millions of dollars in sales?
I'm actually pretty excited about this segment because I love calculators and I love walking people through it. Here we go. Here we go. You can afford a $400,000 home.
The 50-30-20 rule is basically using 50% of your income for fixed expenses, using 30% 10% for miscellaneous, and then saving 20% for your financial goals.
This went very well. I'm very pleased with this. That's going to do it for our premiere edition of Your Cheddar, presented by Ally. We'll be back next Wednesday, 9 a.m. with more on Your Cheddar.
This is the future of advertising, using your partner's technology, their products, their tools as the DNA that runs through the content. And then you program for the audience that actually wants to view it. This is instead of a commercial. It's real educational advice for people. It touches on topics that affect them every day. Personal finance, living with a significant other, getting married, all things that our viewers are going to face, we help them with a partner. We program it with our partners. Final thoughts. The incumbents only stay asleep so long. All of the things we're doing, they could replicate. They could replicate. But what we're doing better than them, we're faster, we're nimble, we're agile. There's no red tape. We can move faster than any single one of our competitors. Why? Because they haven't been built this way. They've been built at a place where they need to move at a snail's pace. So what we've done is made sure that no matter who comes up and tries to compete with us, we can outpace them. We move faster, we make deals, we find new distribution, we're everywhere. By the time they really start to compete with us, we're already so far ahead that they just can't catch up. You can always be outsmarted, you can always hire more people to be able to do something, but you can never catch up with a company that moves at lightning pace. So that's really how we've been so successful. We focus on future trends, we focus on moving fast, and we take the opportunities that are in front of us. And that's the future of where we see cable, and that's the future of how we see distribution and content. And we're going to keep moving forward, we're going to develop new networks, and we're going to be the future of where cable is. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the marvelous idea that the under-60s are a youth market. Thank you for that. I appreciate it personally very much. Do we have any questions in the room, please, for Melissa? And I guess the one from me while everyone gets over their conference nerves. It's a great service. I've seen it. But what about expansion outside the US market? Any plans for international expansion? Does this model work elsewhere? Or is it unique to that US market where the cable channels are cable companies are so dominant?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a great question. European expansion is going to be a big part of our 2018, 2019. We're on one of the only biggest OTT systems in Europe, which is called Molotov. But we're looking for expansion outside of that. We're figuring out what it looks like. Are we going to do live hits from European markets? Are we going to be here on the ground every day? But absolutely, we need to figure out if this model works outside of the US, and we're confident it does.
That's great, thank you. So if there are no more questions, raise your hand if there are. I'll ask you please to, one there, we are. Oh, just 1 second, because we've no chance of hearing without the microphone. Just tell us who you are, please, and where you're from.
Alex Smith from Meredith Corporation. I was wondering what your strategy was to content creation. Is it all custom, done internally, or are you looking to license content to increase your content output?
We don't license content. It's all done internally. We have about 130 people now running 2 8-hour networks. And I don't think it would be as impressive for us if we had 500 to 1,000 people doing it. What makes our company really impressive is that there's 130 people doing this. Of course, we're looking for unique partnerships that we're able to create things that we wouldn't be able to create elsewise. We have a partnership with Vanity Fair where we do a show called The Hive. They have a built-in audience. We have a built-in audience. We're able to marry that content, so it makes a lot of sense for us. We are looking to create original content. We're doing some stuff for Spotify. But at the end of the day, the partnership has to be symbiotic. There has to be a reason and what they're bringing to the table as well, if we're able to do that or license it out.
Okay, no time, I'm afraid, for any more, but I'm sure you'll be around for a few more minutes if anyone wants to grab you in the break. Can I ask you, please, once again, to thank Melissa? Thank you.
Thank you.